Brian Noble, how's the week been for you and the club after that pleasing performance against Castleford in the Challenge Cup on Sunday?
Yeah, good. A good feeling. As I said after the game, with things to fix up after probably our second half performance, which we've spoken about as a group. You know, they were sore. It was a tough challenge at the weekend, and they've had some rehab and seen the pictures from last week and responded in the right way, because you soon got to put that in the bottom drawer and see what's next on the list, and that's the London Broncos, who are a bit of an unknown entity, but thankfully we know some of their traits. Thankfully we know what Mike Eccles does to their players, so we should be very ready, because it's going to be a tough challenge, but it's been a good feeling, yes.
Clearly you're delighted to have beaten Super League opposition. What do you feel that you can take from that game and a strong pre-season as we start the new championship season against London on Sunday?
The fact that we'll compete if we go by our rules of how we need to play. We'll have to have a certain style, and we know that style is successful. If you go away from the script, then every game of rugby league becomes hard. It's too honest a sport, so you have to recognise early in the season what brings you success and what doesn't, and more importantly, if you're on the wrong side of a bit of a flow of a game, how you go about fixing that and getting the flow back in your favour.
Is there any players in particular you feel are helping to drive and deliver those standards?
Yeah, I think all of them, hopefully, but you know, our senior citizens are very important in that respect, and I use that phrase with affection, not with any malice. You know, Michael Lawrence clearly is the captain, James Donaldson, the level of experience he's got, George Tafua, but we accept contributions from everyone, and I have to say we're getting contributions from everyone.
How important, how much focus has there been on that second half performance, which had a few penalties, errors and missed tackles?
Well, they're dangerous and they're danger signs, so there were plenty of amber flares going up in the second half, and it could have been a whole lot different experience and feeling had we not got over the line. You know, the missed goal at the end, I was very confident in going into extra time that we'd play a whole lot better than we had in the second half, but I think it's important that we recognise that it's quite a difficult thing to dig you out of certain situations, and the actions to take and the actions that are needed to get you the right side of a result.
I've spoke to a number of players post-match after that game, and their own sort of self-appraisal was that there was room for improvement in that second half.
Well, we've given ourselves, each of us, all of us, coach and staff, players, a commitment to try and improve every week. Now, I think we'd lots to do to improve after last week. Even though the euphoria of the result, the unbelievably good, let's not take away the positives about the first half of what we did and what we didn't do. So we know that if we play a certain way, we're difficult to beat. That doesn't mean saying somebody isn't going to get us that plays better on the day, but I think we're all on the same mindset.
While some of the players have spoken and mentioned that room for improvement, Brian, when you look at that performance against Castleford, you know, the commitment of the players, the extra training, the hard work, they've proven that they can match Super League opposition.
Well, it might be a different scenario week in, week out, that level of intensity. That's what we've got to work out. We've got to use our squad wisely this year and give players opportunities. That's what we're about. And then, of course, keeping the element of stability, knowing that we get a certain product from a certain team. So it's, yeah, that's a fair observation. We don't play Super League opposition every week. That's our reality. But we'll play, I think there's 5 or 6 or 7 teams in that championship that would equal the standards that Castleford got to on Sunday.
I know previously we've sort of picked out a player or two, but a player who, you know, has gone under the radar somewhat is Logan Bayliss. He looks a totally different new player in 2025. How pleased are you with his progress and development?
I'm pleased for him because it's down to his hard work. He's a meticulous pro. He came last year and people don't know the backstory. He had a slight injury, never quite got over that injury, so it made it difficult for him. New environment, new country, colder country if you're coming from Brisbane for sure. And but he's been one of the ones as everybody else has that's put in the pre-season. He's not on his own. I think there are quite a few players there that are showing the worth and the while of what they've been doing in pre-season.
Joe Keys left the field at half-time with a minor back issue. What's the latest with Joe Keys, Brian?
Yeah, we'll assess him tonight. We don't know. It's one of those that might be right, might not be right. What we won't do is take any risks, because we're in that fanciful position that we weren't in last year to have a look at other people. But just my reflection on the whole team is they're all doing the right things at the right time at the moment, and that commitment I've spoken about is there, and it's palpable every time he comes to training.
I'm kind of guessing if Joe isn't risked this weekend, there's certainly a number of players who will be chomping at the bit to take his place. If, as predicted, it goes with Meadows and Lilly in the halves, then leaving a space on the interchange bench.
Well, your guesses are right. We've got plenty of players that are chomping to get into the team. Now, I've also mentioned that element of stability. Whether they get into the team is another question.
How does how's everyone else in terms of fitness and health, Brian?
Okay, couple of niggles. We don't truly know till Wednesday. That's the not difficulties. That's the challenges of part-time football. You get them on a Monday night and get them into a swimming pool, get them rubbed and assessed and things like that, and then we have to see how they are on the Wednesday. So we'll see how they are tonight. We'll have a clearer picture tomorrow, which enables us to we'll work hard tonight as well, because the ones that are all right go hard, and then we'll go hard, relatively hard on Friday, and hopefully pick the right team to beat London.
It is the bread and butter this week. It starts on Sunday. What challenges do you see your side facing with the visit of London to Odsal?
Well, they'll be a fit team themselves. Mike Eccles, his background is in conditioning, and he's made that great adaptation from the technical side of rugby league, and he's got some good ideas. He'll have an enthusiastic and a hungry squad. He's still got 7 or 8 players left over from the Super League squad that he had, who finished that Super League season really, really well. So we're going to have to be ready. It's a difficult one because we haven't got much intel on them. We've got the one game that they played that they got beaten in. But we'll just have to make some educated guesses as to how they're going to play and what they're going to trying to do to us.
You as a head coach, Brian, you've just referenced that you've only got that Gould Challenge Cup game to go off. How easy or hard is it, and how does that kind of affect your preview of London for your side?
Yes, good question. You can't preview too much. You just got to reinforce the things that you believe in, have an element of adaptability around what you want to do and where you want to do it, and then do what we do best. You know, we'll focus on ourselves this week. We'll retrospectively look at what London did to us last year. They've got the same head coach, so there'll be similar principles. But in truth, we'll have to wait and see on Sunday and then adapt to it.
As you've already said, Brian, there's still a bit of carryover from last season. Familiar faces and threats: Alex Walker, Will Lovell, Sadiq Adebayi, Lewis Bienek.
Yeah, and there's a few other names in there that played quite a bit last year, so we're going to have to be very, very ready. You know, people, if I'm Mike Eccles and I've got the shoes on the other foot, I'm thinking, right, let's go up there and have a right good crack. It's a free shot, nobody knows what we're about. We've been working on this, that and the other, and we've got a few trick plays here and a few things that they might not be ready for. There'll be a few players that we don't know. So that's the intriguing side of it. So we have to ensure that some of our principles that are generic, in if we do them, trouble every team, we're at our best at those.
At the championship launch, I spoke to Mike Eccles and he kind of referenced that, you know, London have proven to be one of rugby league's great survival stories over their 45 years in existence. Are you expecting a bit of that spirit to shine through at Odsal on Sunday?
Well, I think they're certainly going to wear their hearts on their sleeves. They'll be a very, very proud team. They'll be a very committed team, and they'll be a very fit team. And I just know that this time of year, and sometimes the elements can help you if you're a fit team, then it's going to be a difficult day, and we shouldn't take anything for granted. We shouldn't make any assumptions as to what they are and what they aren't, and let's have a look at them on the day.
We are early in the week, Brian. Is it far too early to say if there will be changes to perhaps freshen things up after a very tough encounter against Castleford at the weekend?
Well, I'd like to make a couple of changes. I've got to check on the health of the players, but I would like to make a couple of changes. I think it's important that we get a look at all of our people who we expect to play this year, and then as we start bumping game after game after game after game, that stability that's needed to go onto runs and to go into the season is needed. I don't like taking risks as well, so you don't want to take too many players that are playing out there. So we'll have a look at that tonight, me and Greeny, and we'll see what we think we can do.
I know we've spoken about challenges, Brian, but what would you say your expectations are for this game, this first game in the Championship?
A reinforcement of the things we did in the first half. Whoever's playing, a reinforcement of those principles, and an understanding of what to do when it's not quite going your way.
And I kind of guess, as an overview, given the competitive nature of the Championship and how fierce and strong and how competitive it's going to be, what do you think is going to be the key to success for Bradford on the field this season?
We're just focusing on week by week and the challenges that are going to be thrown at us week by week. I'm just not in the projection game, never have been. Wherever I've been, I've coached for over 20 years, as you know, and projection's hard work. There's a short-term goals that you can make and short-term efforts that you can make, but pretty much if you have a group of people that want to get better every week, you're a chance of being somewhere at the end of the year.